Hey guys, Doc Vinyl again. How you doing? You can guess what we're gonna do today. T-shirt gives it away. Song gives it away. And you had it right. We're doing Deep Purple. One of my favorite songs. This is the Mach 2 band, 1971. Well, do this because this is their biggest album. This is Space Truck. Love this song. That's why I thought to open with it. I always kind of pick my favorite, one of my favorite tunes. This is a cool song. So, alright, so let's get down to it. Deep Purple. Great band. Different incarnations. I'm not going to be doing a complete discography because I don't do a lot of the later stuff with Steve Morse. I have the latest album. I'll talk a little bit about that, but I don't all the stuff in between. So this is predominantly the Mach 1, 2, and 3 bands, which we'll talk about, how they changed, how they evolved. I'm going to do mostly the early stuff. They were formed in early 1968. Really, really cool band. Interesting because Deep Purple is kind of given the honorary of creating the heavy metal hard rock sound along with bands like Led Zeppelin and, of course, Black Sabbath. But Deep Purple is one of the older bands. They're even before Led Zeppelin. Their first album comes out in 1968. We're going to kick it off right with that, called the Shades of Deep Purple. 1968, early 68, released in the United States on Tetragram. Kind of a cool rare label. This was a pretty well-received album. Now, the original lineup of Deep Purple is a little different. The Mach 1 lineup is the 3 core band members, which are Richie Blackmore on guitar, Ian Pace on drums, and John Lord on keyboards. This one, of course, had Rod Evans, the original singer, and Nick Simper, who was the original bass player. Now, this was the original lineup. They were more of a blues rock sound, kind of like similar to what the Jeff Beck Band was doing in 68 with the album Truth. Similar with Yardbirds, later Led Zeppelin will be doing in 69. So they came out of that, but Richie Blackmore definitely wanted to do something a little harder. So, as I look at it, we look at the album, what they have on this. They have And the Address, pretty good. Hush, which is a Joe South cover. Very good, very well received. Everyone knows the song Hush, really good. One More Rainy Day, Prelude Happiness, and I'm So Glad, which of course is a cover of a cover kind of thing. It's a Cream cover from Fresh Cream in 67, and then they covered it. Pretty cool. Mandrake Root, Help by Lennon and McCarthy, a Beatles cover. Love Help Me, and then Hey Joe. They do a pretty good Hey Joe cover of Jimi Hendrix. So I did a lot of covers on this, but it's actually a pretty good album. I like it. A lot of people don't like Rod Evans' sound as a voice, as a vocalist, but I do like the early Deep Purple. And it's interesting because this is more of a bluesy band. This is before they started getting that hard edge. They really don't become the hard rock band that we know until really in rock in 1970. But this album comes out early 68. It's pretty well received. Hush is well received. Out of the first 3 albums, this was by far the better, more successful, and sold the most. The second album comes out in later 68, and it's called Book of Talisman. And it's the same lineup. Richie Blackmore, John Lord, Ian Pace, Rod Evans, and Nick Simper. Right there, of course. Cool stuff. This is on Harvest. This is a cool label. This is a German pressing. This is a German first pressing, which is pretty much the same as the, as you can see right here, as the British first pressing. And it's, of course, on Harvest, as you can see right there. This is a good album. I like it a lot. It's kind of underrated. It's got Listen, Learn, Read On, pretty good stuff by Richie Blackmore and Lord. Ring That Knuck, and then they do a Neil Diamond cover called Kentucky Woman. It's actually pretty cool. It's pretty cool rockin' tune. Exposition, We Can Work It Out, which of course is a Lennon McCarthy cover. Side 2 is Shield, Anthem, and River Deep, Mountain High. They were still working a lot on the keyboard stuff, and John Lord was doing a lot of the writing. This was a period of time where the band was still trying to find its voice. And this is one of the reasons why we have a change in the lineup after the next album. There's kind of 2 camps. Rod Evans in the bluesy voice and Nick Simper on bass. They were kind of more of a bluesy hard rock sound. And of course, Richie Blackmore wanted to do something a little heavier. So, the third album comes out, kind of rare, not well talked about, probably one of the least successful of the early albums. And this one's just called Deep Purple. Self-titled. This comes out in 1969, again on Tetragram in the United States, as you can see here. And this has got some pretty good songs on it. This has Chasing Shadows, Blind, Lelena, Fault Line, The Painter, and the side 2, Why Didn't Rosemary, which is kind of some good keyboard songs on it. Bird Has Flown, and April's pretty good by Richie Blackmore and John Lord. A lot of Blackmore, John Lord stuff. This album is really instrumental because this shows the fissures of Nick Simper and especially the singer Rod Evans. It wasn't the sound that Blackmore wanted, and even John Lord, they were going for something a little different. They had been touring and met 2 young, they met vocalist that came with a bass player, which was kind of cool. They met Ian Gillan, and they really liked his voice. They really wanted to hire him, and Rod Evans was kind of on the out. So before they recorded In Rock, they went on tour, and when, of course, Ian Gillan was in a band with Roger Glover and said, you know, I have a great bass player, so they figured, okay, well, they got a 2-for-1 on that. They got Ian Gillan and Roger Glover. And that is the 1970 lineup for probably one of their early successful albums, Deep Purple and Rock. This is the Harvest Connection. Now, this is interesting. I have 2 releases of this album. I have the Warner Brothers, as you can see right there, the Warner Brothers release, and then I have the Harvest release. Now, what's the difference, you're asking? Why do I have 2 of the same album? It's crazy. I'm not really a big collector, but in this particular case, it's the reason that I have the UK release is that this has a different intro version on Speed King. It's considerably longer. It has a guitar and keyboard intro that's really cool, which is not present on the American edition. That's the major difference. Sound quality is pretty close. I do like UK pressing better. Got a good deal on this too. So let's go with the UK pressing one. The US one's on Warner, as you can see right here. This is the original Warner would have been the green label. This is probably a second or third pressing because it's on the Palm Tree label. But the first pressing would have been on the green label, which was the same album that US for Black Sabbath. Okay, let's talk about this album. Great album. This has Speed King, Bloodsucker, Child in Time, all big hits. Into the Fire, Flight of the Rat, Living Wreck, and Hard Lovin' Man. This album really defines the new sound of Deep Purple. This is the heavy, hard rock, heavy metal sound. The lineup is Ritchie Blackmore, Ian Gillan, Roger Glover, John Lord, and Ian Pace. Much harder, faster, furious music, bigger, stronger riffs, and even the keyboard's crunchy. Oh, sorry, I'm going to grab my needle here. The funny thing about the Deep Purple album, one I'm going to show you in a minute, the music goes almost to the label. It's weird. I'll show it to you at the label there, and it's like, so the auto return function doesn't work. It just kind of keeps the needle in like limbo land. It's weird. That's kind of cool. So this is Deep Purple and Rock. This is well received. Back to Deep Purple. Very big, very popular. This really starts to get this sound, and the new band really takes off. They're really far more popular than the Mark I band, and they start that sound. Everyone's loving because you had Led Zeppelin doing some hard stuff. Now you had Deep Purple, a little harder, and then Black Sabbath comes out in 1969, 1970 with their first album. So yeah. The next album comes out in 1971, and right from here on out, they pretty much do an album every year until 75. This album is Fireball, and now I have a U.S. first release, which again is on the green Warner label, as you can see here, just to give you a little, lesson on collecting. This album is really good. This is really a great follow-up album. This has same band lineup: Ritchie Blackmore, Ian Gillan, Roger Glover, John Lord, and Ian Pace. Fireball, which is really cool. It's got No No No, Strange Kind of Woman, Strange Kind of Woman. That's a really good song. Anyone's Daughter, The Mule, which is a really cool keyboard intro on side 2, Fools, and No One Came. Again, very cool sound, very cool band. I love the gatefold on this. I love this. I got a good deal on this. This is this is in great shape. I've never seen Fireball in that good shape. And then on the green label, yeah, that's pretty rare because this has been repressed quite a few times. They were starting to pick up momentum. Deep Purple was now starting to become a very, very popular live act and a very popular band. So that's their second album, as their 5th album altogether, but their second album is the Mark II lineup. Now, by far, their most popular and famous album, which I was just playing, which I'm going to show you, is Machine Head. Machine Head comes out in 1972. And this propels them into stardom. This is like Led Zeppelin 4 was to Led Zeppelin. This album, almost every song on this album is a hit. This is the original UK release. I have it on the purple. And as we click it open, this was just really cool. This has Highway Star, Maybe I'm a Leo, great song. Pictures of Home and Never Before, all really cool. I love side 1. Not as played as much. And then side 2 has the infamous Smoke on the Water, which it's a cool song. I don't know if I need to hear it again. Heard enough. Lazy, which is one of my favorites, along with Space Truckin', which I opened up the show with. So really, really cool. Very heavy sound. Da-na, na, 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 and have that keyboard, that crunchy Hammond B3, the guitar. You can't go wrong. This album is really legendary in the series of hard rock. And if you're into metal, almost every metal band in the 70s and 80s cite this as a major influence. And this is called Machine Head. If you don't have this in your collection, this is definitely an album, especially if you're into hard rock, to have. And it has, all the big Deep Purple hits. So, great album. And then propels them into superstardom. They are now a major, major band. Their next album comes out, and it's called Who We Think We Are, and I have a repress. I have a purple repress on the purple label, as you can see here. I'm going to bring it out and show it to you. See, it's on a purple repress label. It's kind of cool. Not my favorite album, I'm going to be honest. It has My Woman from Tokyo, which is kind of cool. My Woman from Tokyo. Pretty cool. Mary Long, Super Trooper, which I like. That's one song I do like on this. Smooth Dancer's okay. Rat Bat Blue, Place in Line, and Our Lady. This is the last of the Mark II lineup. This is when Ian Gillan is having problems with Richie Blackmore and Roger Glover, and there's all kinds of issues going along. This album was really a problem producing. It wasn't as successful, and it's really hard to follow up Machine Head. So this album really, it was a good album. I like it. Again, not my favorite, but it just showed that the band was having problems, and that's the reason why we have the Mark III lineup. Now, that brings us to our next album. You figure, well, Ian Gillan's gone. They already did a six, so what's going to happen? He brings on a new singer, David Coverdale. Of course, goes on to form Whitesnake, which I talked about a little bit before. This is Burn. This is a great album. And then this is a whole new lineup and a whole new sound. On this one, we have Richie Blackmore on lead guitar. We have John Lord on keyboards and Ian Pace on drums. But the singer and the bass player leave, and we have David Coverdale on lead vocals, and we have Glenn Hughes on bass guitar and vocals. So Hughes sings with Coverdale. This opens up with the song Burn, which is, of course, the self-titled of the album. Awesome song, heavy, hard, right in your face, really fast riffs, awesome. Might Just Take Your Life, cool song, Lay Down, Stay Down, Sail Away. And, of course, it highlights the Coverdale voice, and this is early Coverdale, so he's really, he can hit those highs. You Fool No One, What's Going On Here, Mistreated, and A200. This is a really good album. People were really surprised that they could change the frontman like they did and really have a success. And they did. They really did. And Richie Blackmore and John Lord are really the ones in charge of the band at the time. They're really the band leaders and writing most of the songs. But David Coverdale being really, really cool vocals on this. So this is Burn. And then this. So as we're going through it, this is 73. 71, 72, 73, yep. And then Stormbringer, I have another one on purple Stormbringer here. This is Stormbringer on purple, repress vinyl. And this one comes out, and this is the last album with Richie Blackmore on it. This has some pretty good songs. Stormbringer's pretty good on this. This has Love Don't Mean a Thing, Hold On, Holy Man. Pretty cool stuff. Richie Blackmore, David Coverdale, Glenn Hughes, John Lord, and Pace, same Mark III lineup. The problem is that by the time this album comes out, supposedly Richie Blackmore didn't like it. He said it sounded too funky. It wasn't hard enough for him, and so he decides to leave the band after this album. They tour it, he leaves the band, and now one of the founding members leaves the band. He goes on and forms a band called Rainbow, which I'll cover them too. I'll do the whole Deep Purple, Rainbow, Whitesnake, whole thing. It's kind of cool. So, this is a pretty well-received album and leads to the next album. So they have to replace Richie Blackmore on guitar. So they do with a man called Tommy Bolin, who had played with Billy Cobham and some others. Really, really good guitarist, but had massive drug problems. And then this is what I call the Mark IIIA or Mark IV lineup. And again, the drama in the band goes. This is Tommy Bolin on lead guitar and vocals, David Coverdale still singing, Glenn Hughes still on bass, John Lord on keyboards, and Ian Pace. This album's pretty good. The problem is that Glenn Hughes and Tommy Bolin, who eventually dies from his drug abuse, has drug issues. Now this album has Coming Home, Lady Luck, Getting Tighter, Dealer, which is pretty cool, I Need Love. Drifter's a good song, Love Child on side 2, O to G, and an instrumental by Bolin on guitar, and You Keep On Moving. Again, it just highlights Coverdale's voice with Hughes. It's a pretty good stuff, but this is the beginning of the end, 1975. The band dissolves after this album, essentially. The drug use of the two members of the bass player and guitarist really becomes instrumental so bad that they can't even play live shows. Tommy Bolin dies a year later in 1976 anyways with an overdose. Glenn Hughes had cocaine issues. So at this point, John Lord just called it in. He was one of the founding members, he and the drummer, and Ian Pace just said, hey, told Coverdale, was kind of bummed, said, there's no more band. This is. So they kind of dissolve. Now, on the good side, they reform into other bands. You have Rainbow performing with Richie Blackmore and with Ronnie James Dio, and then Coverdale goes on to form a band called Whitesnake, which is David Coverdale's Whitesnake, and then becomes a band called Whitesnake, which John Lord becomes a member, as does Roger Glover, and I'll talk a little about that later. So that's kind of cool. So we have no Deep Purple, no actual Deep Purple from 1975 to 1984. So for 9 years, there is no Deep Purple. The members go on to do other projects and whatever, and do various forms of success. So in 1984, they put the band back together, and of course they put the Mark II band back together, and they put out an album called Perfect Strangers. Very popular. It really brings back some of the old Deep Purple magic. And yep, 1984, as you can see right here. This was a really cool album. This is the original release. It's got the whole little thing here and everything. Really cool. Cool stuff. This has Knocking at Your Back Door, cool keyboard intro and guitar, very in your face. Under the Gun, Nobody's Home, and Mean Streak. Side 2's Perfect Strangers. A Gypsy's Kiss, Wasted Sunsets, and Hazy Hungry Days. Very cool. John Lord, Ian Gilliam, Richie Blackmore, Ian Pace, and Ian. I mean, it's just the original band lineup. So this is Roger Glover, Richie Blackmore, Ian Gilliam, the lead singer, John Lord keyboards, and Ian Pace. This is the Machine Head band, if you want to call it. This is probably the most successful lineup. This album is highly successful. They go on tour. People are crazy to see him again because they hadn't seen him for 9 years. And now they haven't seen the Mark II band since even longer. 10 years, 11 years. Because I think they broke up after Who Do We Think We Are in 1972. So it's been a long time. So yeah, cool stuff. A little side note, one of the albums that's really cool is Made in Japan, which is a live album, which I don't have. I don't do live albums usually, but that is a good live album. That's a Mark II lineup of them playing all this stuff from Machine Head in Japan. Pretty cool. Okay, so they follow up this album. This album is very successful, almost as successful as Machine Head. Not as much, but very cool to see them back together. It's on Mercury, by the way. Very cool album. People are excited to see them back together. So they put out another album called The House of Blue Light. This one isn't as well received, again on Mercury. This album's pretty good. Same lineup as I mentioned before. This band is Richie Blackmore, Ian Gilliam, Roger Glover, John Lord, and Ian Pace. Cool stuff. The songs are okay. Dead or Alive, The Spanish Archer, Bad Attitude. Again, the problems with Richie Blackmore and Ian Gilliam pop up again. And they have one more album, and then they just kind of dissolve, and Richie Blackmore leaves the band for good. But this is really the end of an era. I consider this the last decent album by Deep Purple. Now, they go on and form other bands, and Richie Blackmore does his thing, and then they recruit Steve Morris later on, and he's the new member, John Lord, and there's another keyboard player, what have you. So the latest album came out in 2020, which really cool album. It's right here, and this one's called Whoosh, as you can see right here. This is kind of cool. Let me show you. I'm going to show you real quick. Not to take up too much time here. On this one, this has a side 1, 2, and 3. There's no side 3 doesn't have any music. And that's side 1, side 2, and they have etching. I just want to show the etching. It's like really, really cool. Where is it? The way they did this. Yeah, see the etching. So that was one. Side A, side B, side C. Let me see. I think it's side D. Side D. Oh, no, I guess this wasn't the album. It was another album they did that with. I'm sorry. But yeah, so this is like a double album, but it's not really, because if you look at side D, I mean, there's not a lot of music on there. I mean, it's like one song. So they kind of scrinched it up into 2 vinyls. It probably fits well on a CD, but not so much on a vinyl, because you can't fit it all on both sides of an album, so they had to make it into a double album, even though it's really like 3 sides. So it's kind of like, what do you do? So this is a cool album. This has Throw My Bones, Drop the Weapon, We're All the Same in the Dark, Nothing at All. Side 2 is No Need to Shout, Step by Step, What the What, which is pretty cool. Side 3 is A Long Way Around, The Power of the Moon, Remission Possible, Man Alive, and side D is And the Address and Dancing in My Sleep. Pretty cool stuff. This band is cool. I can tell you who's in this band, which is kind of cool. I have I got this original release. Oh, look at the getting old, as you can see there. Of course, this is after the death of John Lord. So this is Ian Gilliam on lead vocals, Roger Glover on bass, Ian Pace on drums, Steve Morse on guitar, and Don Airey on keyboards, and Bob Ezrin producing. Pretty cool stuff. I think it's a good album. It captures the sound of Deep Purple, the old Deep Purple we used to love. I think it's pretty good. I gotta go start investigating some of the other albums that they did. Some of them are pretty good. I like early Deep Purple more than anything, so I'm not really, into the later stuff. the post-Blackmore stuff, you could call it, I guess. But this one was pretty good, so I might go back and try a couple more and see what happens, you know what I mean? It was kind of a cool album, so I kind of liked it. It was a new album, so I was like, wow, they have a new album out, so, you know, you kind of have to get it, you know what I mean? So, it's like Whitesnake and Coverdale, they have a new album out too, so same kind of thing. So, that is Deep Purple. Again, not a complete discography, just kind of giving you a nice flavor of the band. I'm not going to rank them. Probably my favorite album would probably be In Rock, if I had to, like, as a whole album. I mean, I do like Machine Head, but that's overplayed. But there you go. That is Deep Purple. I hope you guys liked it. And again, there's kind of like an interesting little elements of what I call pedigree and how they mix with the band Rainbow, which of course is formed by Richie Blackmore, and how they mix with the band Whitesnake, which of course is David Coverdale. John Lord plays in it, Roger Glover. So I'll talk a little about that later. I talked a little bit about Whitesnake and David Coverdale. I'll talk a little about that. I'll talk about Rainbow. I'll talk about the bands that came from Deep Purple. So cool. So that's Doc Vinyl. I'd love to hear what you guys got to say. Please get some comments out there. I'd like to see some more subscriptions too. Whatever you guys can do, that'd be great. I'd love to hear what you guys got to say. Tell me any bands you want to see. And we'll be coming up on the next Record Store Day in another week or so. So that's exciting news. So we'll see that over at Match Day Records. So we'll talk to you. And that's Doc Vinyl out.